Hello there, this is Adam Turtletop from the Society of Corporate Compliance. Joining me today from London is Paul Donovan, who is head of legal for Canopius, which is an insurance or reassurance company. Paul will be one of the speakers at the 2016 European Compliance and the European Compliance and Ethics Institute, taking place March 20th through 23rd in Prague. Paul, thank you so much for joining us today and availing us of your recording software.
It's not a problem. It's a pleasure.
Thank you. So just this week, it's December 18th as I'm recording this, a call with you. The new EU Data General Protection Regulation has passed, and there's already a great deal of headlines about both the scope of the legislation as well as the substantial potential fines. I think I read it was up to 4% of annual turnover. What are some of the key risk areas compliance officers really need to be aware of as they take a look at this new regulation?
It's a good question. I think a lot of people are pleased that it's now been passed and it's now in a format which will stop changing and means we can actually analyse it in more detail. I think a lot of people have been wondering, at what point do I engage with this? And clearly, if you've got lots of resources and data protection officer is your sole function, then maybe you've been engaging across the entire length of the journey. I think for people like me who are head of legal and global data protection officer and have a number of titles and are juggling these things, I'm just pleased it stopped moving and we can actually start looking at this now. So from my point of view, what are the things that you need to look out for? I think I'm particularly interested in the mandatory breach notifications. I think obviously if you're in the US and in certain industries you'll have been doing that already, but I think over here that's something that people need to get used to and need to work out whether you've got robust processes for that. I think just appointing a data protection officer, if you don't have one to start with, is something you've got to think about. Where do they sit in the organisation? What's their reporting line? What resources do they have? And then you get onto things like looking at all the data that you hold and where is it, and you should know that already, but maybe you don't as an organisation. Looking at the consents that you're asking for when you collect data in the first place and then how you process it. I guess weaving that in with Safe Harbour and the cross-border data transfers, which you need to look at again, or at least I would suggest that you do. And then, I suppose it's mandatory breach notifications, it's data portability. That's the other big thing that I'm really interested in. The fact that our customers may now be able, in 2 years' time when this is implemented, be able to ask us for their data, and then we've got to give it to them in a format, and what does that look like, and what kind of data are we talking about, and can we get ahead of the game and give it to them in a format that is really useful, perhaps. So I think those are the things that I'm particularly interested in finding out the detail about, and then making sure that we completely comply.
It sounds to me, as a non-expert, that really there's two things to think about here. Is one, we've taken what's much more of a European than a U.S. concept, that the customer actually owns his data. In the U.S., it tends to be the merchant who owns the data. And to a new level, and at the same time adds quite a large number of teeth to the provision, so that companies really have to reorient their thinking. And I think we've already seen some of the trouble that U.S. companies are facing in this area. Do you think this really is taking things just to a higher level, or it's more of a game changer?
It's an interesting one. I think that data portability is a bit of a game changer. I think that it does take it to a higher level, but I think in a way it's a good thing because it's what customers are asking for. I think customers are more aware of their data and who they're giving it to and what you're doing with it. They're more aware of identity theft. They're more aware of cyber issues. And I think that as businesses, we're the custodians of that data. And I think that's a very European view, clearly, but we're the custodians of your data, and it is your data, and you should know what we're doing with it, and you should know who we give it to, and you should be able to control that in a way, but also you should be able to ask for it back and take it to another provider if you think the service that you're receiving is not good enough. And I suppose in a way, I'd say that if you view it from a customer's point of view, and we should, because we're about serving customers, and actually, if they're not happy, then we're doing something wrong, maybe this is a good thing. But it is a game changer, I think. I think you're right on that.
Well, I think there's going to be a lot of people in your sessions next March on this issue. Is there one thing you can give people to start thinking about right now?
One thing, gosh, do something.
You know what? That's a good piece of advice. Truthfully, I know you said that half jokingly, but it is a good point that you can't sit and wait on this.
No, I think it's about, well, I work in a highly regulated industry and I've got a bit of a logical mind. So from my point of view, I would say, where are you starting from? And you need to know that, and then you need to work out where you want to get to. And in a way, you've got 2 years to get there. I think having a plan is always a good idea. So my one top tip would be, do you have a plan for how you are going to get compliant if you do not think you are compliant already? And if you've got that plan and you've got board buy-in and you have a budget for it and you move forward with it, then I think you're doing the right thing. But you've got to do something. I think you can't just ignore it.
Great advice. Great advice. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I know it's the last day of the year for work for you. Enjoy the holidays, and I look forward to seeing you and all of you watching March 20th through 23rd, 2016 in Prague for the 2016 European Compliance and Ethics Institute. I'm Adam Turtletop from SCCE. Thanks for joining us, and have a very good day.
Cheers.